Hello, it's Valerie from Shalebrook Handcrafted Soap in Mosel River, Nova Scotia. And today I'm going to do a hot process ocean brine soap. And I've been making them for quite a while, but there's different ways to make salt soaps. And a salt bar would be one where you put salt in, chunky sea salt, and it would be exfoliating. So it would be thick and you would be able to see the salt and feel the salt if you used it on your bare skin. A brine bar is where you use a brine or salt water or ocean water. And I just learned as well from Sherry McCurdy. Hi Sherry. She's a soaping friend of mine, and she's on one of the groups I'm on, a Christian Soapers Facebook group. And I just found out from her that she's made a liquid soap out of brine. And I found that very interesting. So it's a brine liquid soap. What I'm making today is a brine bar soap. And there's different ways to make that. And depending on your skin type, you might like it or you might not like it. One thing I found with it was that if you're prone to have drier skin versus oily skin, you might not use it every day. But brine, sea salt, is extremely good for the skin. It detoxifies, but it's also great for acne. And I had a customer of mine who actually used it. She was using Proactin, and she started using an ocean brine bar of mine, and it completely cleared up her acne. And I had read an article by a doctor on that. It's because of the sea salt. So that's a good thing to know too. For me personally, in doing these, a lot of people will use high coconut oil, which is a high cleanser and drying. So you have to super fat quite high, and then you have the sea salt on top of that. So what I like to do with my formula is I don't use a lot of coconut oil, and I'll post the formula for this as well. And I try to make it as low cleansing or low drying as I possibly can, and as high conditioning as I can, but still be able to get that lather from it, because salt's a real lather downer. It can stop lather. So the other thing about this is I'm going to use Atlantic Ocean water, and I know from research that Atlantic Ocean water contains 3% sea salt. Now I used to make these bars using an extra 25% fine sea salt added to that ocean water. And the last couple of formulas I did, I'm using 15% sea salt extra. So what I do is, in this batch, it's a 2-pound batch, and there is, I just rounded this off. At 38% lye liquid, it comes to 12.25 ounces of liquid. And I used 7.25 ounces of ocean water. So I take that 7.25 ounces of ocean water, I multiply that by 15%, and that gave me 1.1 extra sea salt. And I take that sea salt, it's fine sea salt, and I dissolve it into the ocean water. And sometimes you just want to keep stirring. If I was using 25%, I will heat up my ocean water before adding the sea salt. I found that that really helped dissolve it quicker. Of course, then you have to cool it down when you add your lye to that. So this one, the salt is all ready. There's no lye in that yet. And then the rest of it, I used an ounce of aloe vera juice and 4 ounces of coconut milk. And all of that is going to go through the cook. Personally, I think it's good to do salt bars, brine bars at 40% lye liquid. So I added an extra 1 ounce of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to add that after the cook along with my sugar and my maple syrup. And I'm using the apple cider vinegar because it's a lather booster and great for the skin as well. And so it has aloe vera juice and maple syrup, apple cider vinegar, and this is a 2-pound batch. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of sugar. Usually I'll just use a tablespoon per pound of soap. And what I do is I mix some tablespoons of aloe vera juice and the 1 ounce of apple cider vinegar with the sugar, dissolved it, and I'm going to add that heated up after the cook. Salt bars, brine bars, for me, doing them hot process, can be tricky and difficult because the batter is not normal because of that salt. So I'll show you that as I go along. And this is just well, it's supposed to be a quick introduction, sorry. But I'll take you through the steps. And I'm going to be cooking this at about a medium-high temperature. Not low, not high, but about a medium-high. And we'll go through that and see what happens. Also, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to put this into a log mold. I'm going to use silicone molds like this. These are oval egg-shaped type of molds. And I will heat these up in an oven at about 150 temp. And I'll put the batter into those hot. These will be hot. And the batter will be hot. And you have to work pretty quick and it hardens real fast. So if you're using a log mold, you'll probably be able to cut within a couple of hours of doing a brine bar or a salt bar soap. The other thing, always wear eye protection and wear gloves if you can, and to protect yourself. And that's about it for now. And I'm going to color some of the batter with titanium dioxide. The batter is usually pretty white, but you can use whatever colors you want. Do it natural, what people like to call an all-natural soap. And I'm going to do like an in-the-pot swirl and then dump it into those silicone molds. Hopefully, because it's a tricky batter. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Hello, so we're back, and my oils are at 168 Fahrenheit. My lye is at 182 Fahrenheit, and my crock is on warm. And I have my glasses and gloves on, and I just wanted to show you this lye liquid. When you have salt in your water, it will probably, or mine has always turned white. You just want to make sure that you dissolve your lye well. So I usually put my lye in and stir it for about 1 to 2 minutes. And then I have my 4 ounces of hot coconut milk, because I'm not saving any of that for after the cook. And I'm just going to add my lye liquid slowly. I'm going to burp that. So I'm going to stick blend this, and I'm going to bring it to a thick trace. And I'll bring you back when I have it at a thick trace, and I'll tell you how long it took, and I'm going to cover it with plastic and let it cook. Okay, so I added my coconut milk to that, and I forgot to tell you that I had heated that coconut milk up quite hot. And it took me about 1 minute and 30 seconds to stick blend it to a thick trace. And I covered it with plastic. And just a caution that for me personally, when I use plastic wrap, I try to make sure it doesn't stick tight to that metal part of the crock, because I've had it melt on there before, and that depends on your how hot your crock is, etc. I also like to have a part that sticks up a bit, so if I'm making a soap that volcanoes real quick, I can just take that right off. And now I've got this set on a timer. And so far, I had set it for 5 minutes, and I've got 2 minutes left on that timer. So if something starts to happen before that time is up, I'll bring you right back. And if not, I'll see you in another 2 minutes. So it's been 6 minutes, and I wanted to show you how this is rising up. And it's not going too crazy because it is on low and it was medium-high temperatures. But I wanted to show you that, and that I'm just going to stir that down. And like I said earlier in the introduction, I find for me, brine bars, ocean brine bars cook quite different because of the salt. But right now this is what people would call applesauce stage. So I'm just going to whisk this up. And I'll put the plastic back on for about 3 more minutes. And then I'll bring you back. So 5 minutes have gone by. And my crock is on warm. And I'm just going to, it's cooking here really good. I'm just going to take the temperature of it. You don't have to. This is part of what I do. I like to see where I'm at. So that's about 205 Fahrenheit. Just going to whisk that up. So as you can see right there, we're at potato stage. And I'm just going to cover that back up, and I'll bring you back when it's at Vaseline. Three minutes have just gone by, and I'm going to check this again. And I'm saying that looks to me like we've reached Vaseline stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, and different texture as you can tell from regular bars because of the salt, but I'm heating up my sugar mixture and the 1 ounce of apple cider vinegar and the aloe vera juice and maple syrup. And once that's hot, I'm going to add it to this. And I'll probably let that set another 5 minutes before I add my sodium lactate and yogurt. And I'm not putting a lot of sodium lactate in. I'm adding about 3% sodium lactate because I find it'll help it come out of the silicone modes better. Sodium lactate's great for aging skin as well. And I also have 2 tablespoons of yogurt at room temperature I'm going to add. So I'll bring you right back. Well, actually, you can just stay there because I think my, this is almost all heated up. I'm just going to put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds and it'll be nice and hot. And then before I, so once that's in, I will actually time it probably 3 minutes, add my yogurt, and I'm going to be turning the crock off as soon as I add this stuff. So here we are. And right now my crock is still on warm. Actually, gonna get my whisk there and whisk that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cover that back up, let it set 3 minutes. I'm going to take the crock, the adobe part of that crock out of the metal, and in 3 minutes I'll come back and add my sodium lactate and my yogurt. Hello. So it's the camera was off for 3 minutes and we're back, and I wanted to let you know that I did do pH test. You can do a pH test or you can do a tongue zap, and all the lye is gone out of that. It is now soap, and I'm going to add my sodium lactate. Which is warm. I had it over there on the stove beside the water where I heat things up in. And I'm going to add the yogurt, which is at room temperature. This yogurt that I'm using is plain yogurt, and it's 5% fat in it. You can use 0% fat, I guess, or usually I use 2%, but I just had that today. And wow, that looks actually really good, because the one I did yesterday was miserable. But we'll see what happens, because I'm going to add, the fragrance I'm using is called Karma. People really like that. I don't know how to describe what that smells like, but I guess it's kind of a salty smell. It's not a, I think it goes well with the Brine bars. Sometimes I use Acqua di Gio in it because I like that it's a fresh fragrance. Now that fragrance oil will probably thicken this up quite a bit. Sometimes they do, depending on what they're like. But so far that looks pretty good. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is a really good trick to keep your hot process soap, especially your salt soap, because that's going to harden quite fast. But I'm going to let this set another 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do is spray the top of it a couple of times with hot water just to keep it moist on top. And the bottle I use puts out an extremely fine mist. So the water is quite warm and the mist is very fine. So it's not adding a lot, but it's enough to keep that top moist until I go to separate it. And so 5 minutes, I'll be back. We'll separate it. I'll color part of it, and I'll show you how I fill up those silicone molds, which are actually in my Breville oven at 150 Fahrenheit, getting hot. See you in 5 minutes. So here we are back, and I'm going to separate the batter. I'm doing an in the pot swirl with this, or I hope to. My spoons were heated up and my container was heated up. Actually, it's not bad at all. It's for salt soap, it's pretty good shape. So this part here, I'm going to put in some aqua gel for color, because I really like the color it gives. And I'm going to put, even though this batter actually is going to be pretty white, I'm going to add some titanium dioxide to that. So both of these have been heated up. I'm actually thinking maybe I got too much of that. And I'll just add that probably until I think that it looks the right color that I would like to have. And I try to keep my colors on the stove where my burner is heated. Can you pass me that spray, honey? And a Kleenex? Thank you. My husband videotapes and he helps me a lot. We're a good team. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that color in there. And that's fine. That's the, I'm just going to give that a quick, keep that covered over. So this is titanium dioxide, water soluble, and I mix it with a teeny tiny bit of glycerin, which is probably like 1/8 of a teaspoon maybe, and then the rest would be water. I'll just throw that all in there, I think. Like I said, you don't have to. In the past, I haven't used TD, and the batter is a white, not quite as white with using TD, and totally up to you whether you want to color them or not. And I don't know, you can't really tell by looking through that camera, but it's definitely a different type of batter. And I'm using my bare hands. It's the batter's hot, but it's not, excuse me, it's not boiling. Kind of looks like a curdy type of thing. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to try to plop it from high up and down low. We'll see how it goes. Whoops, sort of went right out on top of me, but that's all right. And basically what I do, I don't want to mix it too much, but I'll just bring it up from the bottom and go down through it. Okay, I think I'm actually over mixing it there now. And I'm going to get my hot molds, and I'm going to get my, I'm using a plastic ladle that's in really hot water to pour these out. I actually need the container. So, hoping you can see that in there. This is my ladle, and you have to work quite fast. Sometimes I have a bit of a problem because I fill mine quite full. I like to have them full for my customers. Try to cover that over a bit. I'm going to bang those on the floor. Or actually, I could probably just do it here. And I'll try to scoop some of this back in. You can see, you still see in there, hon? And one thing that I'll show you that I do for the tops of these, oh, I just see some there. Because they're pretty rough, but I'll just give them a couple of sprays of this. And I'll use a chopstick, and I'll just twirl around on top of those. Makes them a little bit prettier. Because like I said, with hot process, these are pretty rough. And once I'm all done, I'm going to put those in the fridge, and I'll have them out probably, I'm thinking within an hour. Sorry for that noise. I don't know if I can get a fourth one out of there or not. I think I probably can. Okay, and once again, just a spray with that. You don't have to. And I just do little curly cues on top. It looks a bit more presentable, but the main thing, whether it looks good or not, is that the soap is good. Always keep that in mind when you're doing something. All right, so that's hot process, ocean brine bars with 15% sea salt extra added. I usually do them 25% sea salt extra, but I'm just trying a different way to do them. And I also bring you back for a lather test when I do it as well. So we'll see you in just probably 15 minutes. So I just wanted to show you the lather from that puck. And it soaks up incredibly beautiful. And you don't have to need all coconut oil to do that. But you can use whatever you like. There's no right or wrong, it's whatever you like. So lots of lather with that. As my crock pot is filling up there, it's beautiful too. So you can see how lovely that is. And I'll bring you back when I show you when I get those out of the mold and show you what they look like. Thank you for watching.